Hello, everybody. This is Help for the Helpless. I am Tom Schuhart, and we're going to be talking about today something that the very most, actually, the most difficult step of all the steps. Step one. We're going to talk about powerless. Okay? Now, most human beings despise change. We don't like to change. You've heard the term leopard can't change his spots because we as humans don't like to change at all. We don't change unless we're forced to. This is where the first step comes in because we are powerless to control our tendencies. Now, there was a bunch of us, about eight of us, that started a celebrate recovery group in Pelham, Alabama, and at First Baptist Pelham. And something I learned when starting that group, I actually started the group wanting to help addicts because I are one. So when we started the group, I discovered that less than 1/3 of everybody that goes to celebrate recovery are addicts or have any kind of chemical depression, chemical addiction at all. Most of the people there have hurts that they've never been able to deal with. So we're going to talk about powerlessness, and this is something that we don't like to talk about because we want to believe that we're in control of our own destiny, which you are in control, but you're in control to screw it up. How many of us thought, oh, that's such a good idea, and it got screwed up because we thought it was a good idea, because I thought it was a good idea, because I wanted to do something, and I wanted to create a better situation for me. You know, you hear the I, and me. This is where the powerlessness comes in. And a lot of you are going to look at me and go, you're nuts. I have control of my own destiny. And I understand your thought process, but this is the hardest step to take because you can say it with your mouth, but believing it in your heart is something totally different. Okay? So, step one, we admitted we were powerless over our addictions and compulsive behaviors and that our lives had become unmanageable. Now, I want you to hear this. We admitted we were powerless over our addictions and compulsive behaviors. How many of us, like for example, how many of us keep choosing the wrong spouse or significant other, and we keep choosing the same people over and over again because we are powerless to control those compulsive behaviors. And that's why a lot of people that are abused in a relationship often break up with that relationship and find somebody else that is abusive because we are powerless to control those compulsive behaviors. Now, the Bible verse that is associated with this is Romans 7:18. And now I want to give you a little bit of background on Romans if you don't know a whole lot about the Bible. Romans was written by Paul, the Apostle Paul. The Apostle Paul started out as someone that was punishing the Christian people at the time because he was Jewish, and the Bible actually says that he may not have stoned people or killed them, but he held the coats for the people that were. So he was involved in stonings and all kinds of different despicable behaviors. But once he found his once he found his Christianity on the road to Damascus, he became probably the most influential Christian ever. He has written probably 2/3 of the New Testament. So when Paul writes this in Romans 7:18, he is, without a doubt, a better Christian than I will ever be. And I'm sure a better Christian than I've ever seen. So I want you to hear this. Romans 7:18, for I know that nothing good lives in me. All right, I want you to hear that. For I know that nothing good lives in me, that is in my flesh. For the desire to do what is good is with me, but there is no ability to do it. Now I'm going to break this down for you, okay? Because some of this stuff can be a little bit, you can look at it and say, well, I believe I'm a good person. I think I have, good intentions. Everybody has good intentions. The old proverb, the highway to hell is paved with good intentions. So let's break it down. For I know that nothing good lives in me, that is, in my flesh. We are sinful creatures by design. We weren't created initially to be sinful creatures, but we committed a sin, and then you don't have to teach a baby to be selfish. What is one of the first words babies learn or children learn? Mine, 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 mine. You don't have to teach a child to be selfish. Sometimes you have to correct them and you have to train them to not be selfish. So understand that this instinct of ours comes with the package. We have to learn to not give into it, okay? For I know that nothing good lives in me, that is in my flesh. For the desire to do what is good is with me. Paul is saying here, he wants to do what is good. He wants to. And that is the key thing. All of us want to do good. We want to help people. We want to reach out to others. But there is no ability to do it. Now, a lot of you are going to say, I can do good things, and I have the ability to do it. But the good thing is not being done. We have to, when we want to do good things and we want to reach out to others, a lot of times, and I catch myself doing this, that people get on my nerves. They do. And I know that a lot of you understand this, and some of you don't. Some of you think, oh, yeah, you're such a good guy. No, I'm not. People get on my nerves. And so inside my heart, I'm still doing good, but I'm resenting them because they're getting on my nerves. Do you see what I'm saying? In my flesh, there is no ability to do good. There's not. In my flesh, I don't have the ability. How many of us, before we became Christians, felt this area inside of us that is not filled? And so we try to fill it with all kinds of things to mask that emptiness. That emptiness is designed in us to accept the Holy Spirit into our bodies. That way, us, in conjunction with the Holy Spirit, mostly the Holy Spirit, will teach us how to do good things. But, like I said, we are selfish people. We are. Now, I also want to talk to you about the first principle. The first principle in Celebrate Recovery is, this is from the Beatitudes. The first principle is, realize that I am not God. That statement seems kind of funny, but I believe it or not, most of us think we are God. We think we could do it better than God. I don't need God to help me with this because I know what I'm doing. So you're telling me you know better than God, because God is the one that helps us do the good things according to Paul. So realize that you're not God. Really seems kind of silly, but understand, when we do things on our own without consulting God, we are interfering in what He wants us to do. Realize that I am not God. I admit that I am powerless to control my tendencies to do the wrong things, and that my life is unmanageable. I want you to hear that. How many of us are sitting there and our lives are going out of control? I mean, we're thousands and tens of thousands of dollars in debt. We lose our job. Things are circling around, and everything is becoming unmanageable. Okay? Every single one of us has been to that point, and I'm to that point more than others. My life is completely unmanageable, and I understand that. And I've gone through these 12 steps a couple times. Actually, really only once fully and with my heart open. The other times I just paid lip service. But like I said, we as human beings hate change. I hate change so much. I only change my underwear every 4 days. I'll wear them one day, regular. The next day I'll turn them around to the other side. The third day I'll turn them inside out. And the fourth day I'll turn them the other way inside out. So that's 4 days, 4 sides, 4 days, right? I'm just kidding. Actually, it's more like 3, but listen. We have to understand that we are powerless to control our bad intentions, our fleshly desires, and our lives become unmanageable because of it. In Matthew 5:3, the poor in spirit and blessed are blessed, for the kingdom of heaven is theirs. I want you to understand that. The poor in spirit are blessed, for the kingdom of heaven is theirs. How many of us have seen these Christians that we're going, wow, they're huge Christians, they're big Christians? Really? There is no such thing as a big Christian. We are all the same, okay? We are all the same. And once we realize that it's God handling this, not me, that brings you poor in spirit. That brings you that poorness in your spirit because you realize that you can't do it on your own. You need help from God. Okay, so understand that the kingdom of heaven is ours as long as we realize that we're not God and you're powerless to control your tendencies and your lives become unmanageable. Now, I'm not going to go too in depth in this. I want you to look at John 15:5. I am the vines, you are the branches. He who abides in me and I in him bears much fruit. But without me, you can do nothing. And I want you to think about this, okay? How many of you have seen branches cut off of trees that had nice leaves on them? What happens to that branch? The branch dies. How many of us have seen a grape vineyard where the branch is cut off and thrown onto the ground, the branch dies? Why? Because it's not getting the nutrients of the whole tree or the whole vineyard, the whole vine. Because you're separated from the vine. The vine is God. We are the branches. If we get separated from that vine, we can do nothing. We just wither and die, just like the branches. So I want you to see that I understand that your life is unmanageable, but there's a way. There is a system that you can bring that unmanageable life into balance, but you can't do it on your own. This is why this is the hardest step, because I hated change so much that most of us have to hit rock bottom. If you fall down into a gutter, where's the only place you can go? The only place you can go is up. You can look up. That's it. When we get down to that point where it's rock bottom, God allows us to get that point so that we look up. And then sometimes that's the only way for us to look up, because we don't want to see that we can't control the things are. Every single time I got a DUI, every time, it's because I said, you know what? I was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. I think I can handle this. Within that day that I drank, I get stopped by a cop. Every time. And that was 7 times. I'm pretty hard-headed. But understand, every single one of us goes through this. Every single one of us has to get to that point where all we can do is look up and say, God, help me. God, I need your help. And once you get to that point, you'll feel the hand of God reach down and pull you out of that gutter. But you have to get to that point. Until then, you can't do anything. You're just that branch that's withering away. How do you get the branch from not withering away? There are some ways that you can actually take that branch or take a piece of a tree, plot it in the soil, and a new tree grows up. But it comes from being in that soil, being part of that group. So I want you to take this, and I want you to understand that every single one of us had to admit that we were powerless over our addictions and compulsive behaviors, and that our lives had become unmanageable. Again, if you want to hear something special, put it in the comments. Hit the subscribe button if you want to hear, if you want to see more. If you like this button, if you like this lesson, hit a like on there. Let me know what you feel. I take all comments, and I have very thick skin, so don't worry about it and hurting my feelings. Understand that all we can do is help. And we can't even do that without God's help. All right? Again, this is Tom Schuhart. Thank you very much, and I'll see you guys later this week.